You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we got beer, cheese. Forgot to do something here. Benny.
Hey, Ryan, beer, cheese, Benny here. Just calling in. I want to kind of voice my opinion about the offense, and mostly Jordan Love. Something I haven't said before, surprisingly. Now, to me, I just wish that the Packers would run more bootleg. You know, like bootleg options, stuff like that. And, you know, like, in today's age of NFL, quarterbacks need to be mobile. You know, and they need to do bootlegs and stuff like that, and like rolling out, like, hell, even Rodgers at freaking 40 years old is still rolling out and running, you know.
Come back to me.
Stepping back, not really around. And I really truly believe that Love's injury was worse than letting on.
Yeah.
I think he was, like, they told him, hey, don't run, like, don't run. It was like, we need to have Jordan Love run. We know he's mobile. I mean, we know he is. Or if they literally told him not to, because, like, hey, dude, we can't, like, risk you freaking getting, like, really screwed up and, like, screwing your whole career, because, like, we got a lot of money on your ass, man. But
All right, let's stop there. We got a bunch more calls from you, so we'll get back, see if your phone starts working a little bit better. You know, again, this kind of, we can put this into a large bucket of, you know, a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about a lot of things. Kind of just maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, listen, a couple things. First off, Jordan can be useful with his legs. He's not Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, he's not that. He's closer to Pat Mahomes in his mobility than some of these other guys. I feel like to some degree his value as a runner has been overstated. But you know, it's certainly an asset. The issue with bootleg, I mean, obviously when you're out in space, you potentially can run, which is nice. You know, you tend to get away from stuff or whatever, and usually buy yourself a little bit of time. The big issue, obviously, is that you're generally cutting the field in half. Not to say you can't, you know, haul off and launch a pass the other direction, but generally you design it so that everything's to one side of the field, and you're kind of compressing yourself. I think usually, you know, at least from what I've heard, coaches tend to do that with quarterbacks that are not very good at what they do. You're simplifying the field. You kind of just do like levels as far as the receivers are concerned. And so they really just have, you know, three guys in one line of sight and you throw to the open one, right? Not saying it's something that they couldn't have done more. I don't know. You know, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I do think that the injury was a problem. Whether they told him not to or not, I don't know. I think it seems obvious to me that the injury was was bothering him. Whether it was because of pain or just fear, I don't know. Which is more than enough reason for me to believe that he limited himself from running. But it's possible that other people told him that too. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if we need more, you know, again, there's a million different theories of, well, we need to do this, and they seem, to me, somewhat arbitrary. You know, we need Tucker Kraft more, we need Musgrave more, we need Watson more, we need more bootleg, we need more under center, we need more play action, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, but one way or, you know, whatever it is, again, my biggest thing is whatever it is, you got to make it work. And I think any of these things can work, and all of these things do work. It's just a matter of when your number's called to execute. And, whether it's bootleg, under center, shotgun, pistol, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 20 personnel, I don't care what it is. Just make it work. So, again, I'm hopeful that, he gets the off season to kind of rehab, to get healthy, get his confidence back, work with his guys, work with the coaches, work with the new quarterback coach, kind of, get back to fundamentals a little bit with the footwork. I mean, that whole fadeaway jump shot thing was really getting old, man. I mean, every pass, he's on his back foot even with no pressure. We got to get back to fundamentals a little bit, I think, and hopefully we just see in 2025 a better version of Jordan. That's all I can really say about it.
Hey, Ryan, beer cheese Benny one more time today. I promise. Listening to Packernet After Dark, you talking about, people talking about...
Literally calls in 3 more times in the next few minutes here.
Oh, we're going to be the basement for the next 30 years, which, by the way, I agree with you. That's just so stupid. It's the dumbest thing you could ever say. But you talk about the Packers process and, how we're never... I don't even think we've ever even... When was the last time we even had a top 10 pick?
Right.
Let alone a top 5 or the number 1. Come on, man. You can't say that Packers aren't one of the most successful teams. I guess for some people, if you want to determine success over Super Bowl, it's okay, well, again, very few teams win it. But, man, imagine if Gutekunst did things the way that we wanted to. Imagine that, dude. You want to talk about being in the basement. If Gutekunst did everything that we wanted him to do or did the things the way we think that he should, God, it would be so bad. Good thing I'm not the GM, bro, because I'd be too emotional. I'm not going to lie. We're going to get...
I should go back over the last several drafts and just try to see if I can remember who some of my favorite guys were. I don't exactly remember. It would be kind of interesting to go back and just look and see who some of my favorites, because there are guys, the thing is, there are guys you hype up, you don't even hear their name after the draft. That's it, it's done. Even from this last draft, there were a ton of guys we talked about all the time. Where did they go? What happened? We don't talk about them anymore. We were sure they were going to be the next big thing. Didn't even get on the field, and if they do, they don't play very well or very much, and we just don't talk about it. We love to talk about the misses, right? The 1 or 2 guys that we said we liked that ended up being good that we didn't draft. Oh, we got to talk about that over and over and over and over and over again. What about the 50 other guys that we also said were going to be great that just vanished from thin air? I don't know.
Guys, we're going to get to the promised land. We're going to bring Lombardi back home. It's just a matter of time. Because Gutekunst, he's cooking, brothers and sisters. You just gotta just trust this dude. Again, like the Chiefs, they just kept doing what they do, and eventually it worked, right? And sometimes it doesn't always work, and that's okay. But as long as you make the playoffs and you give your team a chance, that's my thing. It's no, I'm not saying the standard is make the playoffs. Obviously, that's step number 1. You got to make the playoffs, but if you don't make the playoffs, you don't have a chance of winning a Super Bowl. But every year, the Packers have a chance at winning a Super Bowl. I'd rather have a chance every year than not have a chance.
Well, and the other thing is you can't do better than that. You can't do better than having a chance to win. There's nothing, what's above that? Guaranteeing a win? That's not a thing. All you have is building a team that is capable of winning. And every year the Packers have a team that's capable of winning. There's not much else to do. You could build a more capable team, right? Sure. But, again, we've had the best team that didn't win the Super Bowl. So it's not that simple of build the best team and you win, because we've had that and we didn't win.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's disappointing.
I think Baltimore and Buffalo were arguably the best teams, right? Or Detroit. None of them are even in the Super Bowl.
I've seen so many NFC championships where we choke, but at least we freaking had a chance. You know what I mean? It's God. Some of these fans are so annoying, man. And I'm probably going to actually continue. continue this call because I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. It was actually on the Packers YouTube channel. It was like the history of the Packers, like the beginning of like the Packers. And it was really cool, and I just want to like say something. So I'm gonna call back here and tell you about it.
Okay.
So, Brian, continuing what I was talking about, I watched this video on YouTube from the Packers YouTube channel about like the history of the Packers. I forget what it's called. It's like I think it's like 1919 to 1929, really is. So it's like the beginning of the Packers, right? And like I learned a lot of stuff from it. It's really cool. And you guys should go check it out. But like, Green Bay used to be like split by the river, right? So you had Howard on the west side and then Green Bay on the east side. And the West Siders hated the East Siders, and like they had East High School and West High School, and they hated each other. It was like a big rivalry, and like, over time, like football brought people in Green Bay together, like high school football. And like, I'm talking, like these rivalries were so crazy, dude. Like, they weren't allowing anybody like to even watch them practice or anything like that. Like they had people guarding the practice field. Like, we don't want you here. Like if you're if you're on the east side, if you're from the west side, like we better not see you here and stuff like that. And then, Curly Lambeau came and, he created this team and everybody just wanted to watch football in Green Bay. Like everybody was coming from around like Wisconsin, like wanting to watch football. And then another thing that I learned is that back in the day, the Packers got in trouble for they used college players, and that was like a big no-no back in the day. And so they actually got banned from the league, and they needed to like raise money to get back in, and people came together and gave them the money. I think that's what it was. Or it might have been something else, like where in order to stay in the league, they needed to raise money. And then, coincidentally enough, history repeats itself because, as you know, the Bears always take our washed-up players. Well, George Halas took those players that we used from college that got us banned, and once they were out of college, he took them. And I was sitting there, I'm like, wow, history really repeats itself. Like, the Bears are still doing that crap today. Like, they're just taking our old players and, like, trying to be like us. But, man, it's just like, you realize when you watch this video, the NFL would not exist without the Green Bay Packers. It really wouldn't. And the Bears, too, really, I'll be honest, as much as I don't want to say that. But you guys need to go check that out and learn up your Packer history, man. It is so cool, man.
That's what Mr. Negative always used to say to me. You don't even know your Packers history. You don't know your history. You're right, I don't. Well, you're not a real fan then. It's like, okay, well, that's fine. I don't care. No, there is some interesting stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff that happened. No doubt about it. I didn't know a lot of the stuff that you were saying, but certainly Packers-Bears has been a big thing for a long time and laid the foundation. One of the coolest things about history in general is when you realize how flimsy everything was and how close everything was to going a very different direction. You look at like war things and they're like, oh yeah, it was this random thing that happened that didn't happen. We probably would have lost. Like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, same with the Packers. I mean, one person doesn't get involved or one person does anything different or make one different decision and, the Packers don't exist, the NFL doesn't exist. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. All right, we got a short one here.
Ryan, I'm sorry, man. I told you I wouldn't call in, but I can't get over the Chicago, man. That's so funny, man. The freaking song you had was so epic, too. Hey, but I'm going to tell you what, man. 2025 is the year of Chicago.
I know,
okay?
Right?
We're going to win it all for Chicago. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. But, yeah, 2025 is the year of Chicago. Let's go. Go back up.
The only thing that sucks about Chicago is that Google keeps translating as Chicago. So, I don't know if that's a bad omen or what, but I'm digging the Chicago. That Chicago song is a good song, by the way. I really like that song. All right, why don't we take our first break? We got Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan, Daniel from California. I
Yo.
was looking at this upcoming draft, and I was thinking about roster composition and looking at the last few draft classes, right? I call all the time about these draft classes, and we got a lot of depth and a lot of guys that can actually like do stuff, right? Yes, not a lot of top tier talent, but we have a lot of like floor guys that set a good floor. You look at the last few draft classes, it's like 12 guys or something like that each one, right? So I know it's not some of those guys aren't on the team. The last, random guy here or there might be on the practice squad or something. But let's just start with 3 drafts back. We got 36 guys, right? And then you got our long-term guys that are, second contract guys. Probably there's 5 or 6 of those guys. So you're at over 40 now. You got a few free agents, Keyshawn, you got Xavier, you got Josh Jacobs. So you're around 45. So you look at our roster composition. We don't really need to be doing our, fill the bench drafts with 12 guys anymore. I'm all for it. I love that because it just gives you more chances to strike in the draft.
Sure.
But then if you go in doing another draft, we're just gonna not have a spot for these guys, right? Trying to draft 12 more. So for the first time in a while, I'm looking to trade up. Like I know,
Yeah.
Goody doesn't really. It seems like he doesn't move up too much, like in the later rounds. Except for, actually, that's completely wrong because you got Christian Watson, you got all these other guys. But I'm thinking, a few free agent signings, and then if they could trade up to find that person they believe could be the difference, I'm thinking they might do something like that because they have so many people on the roster that are invested with draft capital. It's not normal. You got 3-4 years with 12 guys each draft. That's not. You don't see that, so
Yeah.
I think we might, just by the lack of actual roster space and long-term commitment, we might actually see some movement up. I'm just thinking because they didn't draft a defensive lineman this last year, and people want to think that it's like, because they didn't like those guys. Like I think they probably love those guys, but look how much investment they have in the defensive line. The year before, they drafted 3 guys, and they had Kenny already, and they had TJ a couple years before, so it's like, yeah, but go back up.
No, it does make sense. And, like I said before, you're kind of rebuilding a little bit, and you got, and not that we were ever really an old team, but you're kind of moving away from some of the old players and the bad contracts, and so you really depend on the younger people. You don't have the money to invest anywhere. And so, yeah, we got 11 picks every single year, and we're building out this roster, and you're depending on all these first, second, third year guys to run your whole team. Now we still have all those guys because we over 3 years, you're talking 33 picks or whatever. We're pretty well built out, especially with young people. You could certainly say that there's a shift that has taken place from, we don't need just quantity anymore, and we need to focus a little bit more on quality. We already have less picks, so you could just say, well, that's enough to just we don't have 11, we have 8 or whatever. So there's your less. But no, I could see saying that if it were to arise, I guess if there was somebody worth moving up, and I think Gutekunst was always willing to move up. But maybe you're a little bit more eager. Maybe you'd be, or eager maybe is the wrong word. Maybe a little bit more aggressive. Whereas before you're willing to move up, but there's bounds, and maybe those bounds have kind of expanded a little bit. Would you be willing to give up a 2026 first or something like that? Which really hard to imagine Gutekunst doing that, but maybe if the right person were there, if they really think there's like a blue chip. If they can get up to, high enough. We haven't gotten to the point of looking into movement. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have a ton planned. We got to talk about the coaching situation, unfortunately. Maybe we can start looking at some of that. But yeah, no, that does make sense. Change of philosophy. We do get locked into, like, this is what the Packers do, but what the Packers do depends on what the Packers are a little bit. And so there can be a changing of, what we do when we have, 40-year-old Rodgers, as opposed to what we do with the youngest team in football, what we do when we have a bunch of money, no money, whatever the case may be. It's going to change things a little bit. So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see if there is a little bit more aggression.
Brian, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm calling back. It pertains to my other call. When I was talking about the video, I was watching about the history of the Packers, the beginning of the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I want you people to keep in mind, okay, so for all you freaking Lions fans who say we're not real fans or we never had real fans or whatever, dude, when I'm watching this freaking thing, okay, the Packers, during the Great Depression, the height of the Great Depression, where nobody had money, this is when people were giving their money to the Green Bay Packers so that we could stay alive as a team. Understand how freaking amazing that is. All right? I don't see any other teams doing that. Okay? And the Packers continually have support from the community and whatnot and in the fan base. I don't want to hear how about we don't have real fans, because after watching that, everyone should respect the Green Bay Packers and love them. You know what? Honestly, anyone that says they hate the Green Bay Packers, they just wish that they were us. They really do. They wish they were us. They wish that their team was the one that is the reason for the NFL. And, they wish they could be owners of their team. They wish they could have that opportunity. But they don't. So they just hate on us. They hate us because they hate us.
There
all right?
is.
That's all I got to say. Beautiful Thursday. Make sure you stay hydrated, all right? See you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a NFL historian myself, but you don't need to be one to know that one of the most loyal, dedicated fans across sports are Packer fans. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's even people that hate Packer fans will make jokes. Well, there's nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. Fine. But you can't then turn around and say you're not real fans. And that's why almost nobody ever does that, except for one Lions fan idiot. I know Beer Cheese Benny's super fired up about that guy, but I don't think that too many people would even think to use that line of attack that Packer fans aren't real fans. I mean, that's pure freaking ignorance at the highest levels.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay, and
What's
I
up?
was just calling to talk about like trade up or trade down. And
Yeah.
I hear pretty much everybody saying we should trade down, but the thing is, while it does make sense because there's not a lot of elite players and there's a lot of guys in the second tier, that also means like if everybody's trying to trade back, then you're not going to get very much for trading back. And that also means it is cheap to trade up. So we're picking 23rd. Like, why, in my opinion, why do we want to trade back into basically where we're always picking? We take at the 28, the 30 range almost every year. We're finally, in the 23 range where we could do a small trade up and really get a guy we like that fits a need. And, instead we're just going to keep trading back, collect all these picks, and then have a higher likelihood of missing. I mean, this is how you end up with Kevin King instead of TJ Watt. Because what we do, we traded back, we traded back, we traded back. We passed on TJ Watt, we passed on TJ Watt. And then boom, TJ Watt went, we took Kevin King, total failure. And hey, they were in the same tier. We got all these extra picks. Are you guys actually happy about that? I'm not. I would have much rather had TJ Watt, the better guy in the tier. Let's go get our guy. Let's stop waiting for, we'll take whatever guys left. We'll be the smartest organization and just collect what everybody else missed on by passing on them. Even though there are tiers of players. That doesn't mean that the best player in that tier isn't better than the worst player in that tier. So I disagree with trading back this year. We need elite talent. We need the highest probability of elite talent. To get that, you need the best quantity pick, not just collect more picks. And so if I don't mind picking where we are, I think we're actually in a good position. But if we're going to move, I would much rather move up than back. So anyways, what do you think about that? Have a good one.
Well, yeah, we definitely need to talk about it. It's becoming a pretty big topic of discussion already. But yeah, I guess I get what you're saying theoretically, it kind of in hindsight. The hypothetical that I would sort of pose to you would be, let's assume that you're looking at 10 players and you have them evenly graded, right? Because the idea being, well, don't trade back when you got a guy like TJ Watt. Well, obviously they didn't realize nobody realized what TJ Watt was, or he wouldn't have fallen as far as he did. So they had TJ Watt and Kevin King on a similar, if not the exact same tier. They were wrong, there's no doubt about it, but that's sort of the idea. And so there's it's not impossible that if they had just stayed and picked, they would have taken Kevin King anyways. So the idea being, if you have exactly 10 people with the exact same grade, what do you do? Do you stay and pick just on principle because we don't want to trade back, or do you just randomly pick one and hope that you get the right one? I think that's more or less the idea of trading back, is that we don't have a beat on, like, this is a premier player. If they did, they wouldn't trade back. You only really want to trade back if you've got, if you have 5 people with the same grade and you can move back 4 spots, you're set, you're golden. You can move back 5 spots and you get guaranteed to get at least one of them. You probably get multiple because they won't go all 4 in a row or whatever. So I think that's more so the idea, so that you move where it makes sense. Everybody's in their own tiers, so more than likely you're looking at it and there's a tier, and by the time the Packers come, let's say there's like 7 blue chip players, they're not going to get with even striking distance. There might be sort of a second tier that maybe there's like 18 of them. That's where the Packers would look and say, okay, if let's start talking to some of these people, see if there's any interest in moving back with us. But we also got to see how the chips fall. And if all those guys are gone and you weren't able to work out a trade, then what? Now you're just in tier 3. You can take your pick of the litter of tier 3, or you can try to get some compensation, maybe grab 2 of these tier 3 guys. So, I think the logic behind it makes perfect sense to me, assuming that's what we're doing. I don't think you ever want to trade away, like, this guy's obviously going to be a superstar, but let's just grab 2 kind of guys, just because it's, we could have 2 or whatever. So it's going to depend on the Packers. That's why we can never really predict, because it's going to depend on the Packers board, how they have guys graded and tiered out, and then just how the board falls with them, and then it's the likelihood of other people being willing to trade, because you might have look at it and say, okay, there's a guy available, and you talk to them, they're like, screw you, we're taking him. You think I'm going to give you this spot so you can take him? And even if they have 2 or 3 guys that they like, well, you're too far back. If I trade back at 15 to 23, they're probably all gone, so I don't want to move back that far. So you never know how these things are going to shake out. If they have an opportunity to get a premier player to trade up for them, should they? I would say yes. But is there a scenario where I think it would make sense to trade back? Unfortunately, yeah, there is. There always is. And that's true, I think, for all teams. The main theme, you're probably going to hear me harp on it over and over again, is that you cannot come into the draft with a predetermined thing. We need a wide receiver. We need to trade up. We need to trade back. That's not a thing. Now, you could do mock drafts enough, and with your own board in mind, say, based on the way I have these guys sorted, I don't see any scenario where I wouldn't trade back, or something to that effect, if that's how you want to phrase it. but understanding that the Packers are not going to be using your board and your understanding of how things work out. So I generally speaking, I think I understand where everybody's coming from, but there isn't like this is what we need to do in the draft kind of thing. Not really. I mean, maybe to some degree. Again, there might be a consensus across the board, all 32 teams and everything, that there's a bunch of, let's say, corners. Okay, well then maybe you wait on corner, or maybe you attack corner because it's such a plentiful class. You'll probably end up with a higher caliber of person, at the pick. However you want to phrase it. Again, the point is there's maybe some things we can speak of in generalities, but other than that, it's hard to say definitively this is what we should do. All right, let's take our final break. We got Kyle from Madison.
What's up, buddy? It is Kyle from Madison.
What up?
So let's talk about Jaire a second.
All right.
Obviously I was frustrated this year, I think like everybody, that he was just unable to play, and I certainly wish they would have just shut him down and he could have had that surgery right away, and who knows. But personally, I would really like Jaire back. As I look at all these options, I don't really love, well, let me caveat that by saying, unless he's some kind of just a complete cancer, which none of us know. But outside of that, can I please have the option where we just get a healthy Jaire for a couple more years? Like, that would be the ultimate great outcome. Because just for where we want to be, that gets us closer to a championship than any of the other options, in my opinion. I know there's some salary ramifications that make it complicated, but yeah, I'll choose that option if I get to choose. I listened to your pod on Max Crosby. My question would be, a lot of times when a fan base or when a organization cuts loose a guy like that, that's a big time guy that puts butts in seats, etc. They'll try to get somebody back that's a name. And I wonder, what's the cornerback situation like in Las Vegas? And would you be able to trade? Of course, it takes two. I understand that. But I'm just wondering, like, maybe they would accept a little less if Alexander's involved in that trade. I don't know if they'd want his contract either, but just an option, because I don't see any way the Packers are giving up a first-round pick when they host the draft. I mean, maybe in a different year.
Right.
But, dude, that's worth a lot more to us this year. We're hosting the freaking draft. So I'm just curious about that. Another point, I saw Micah Hyde retired. Man, it still hurts my heart. Like, the fact that was it back-to-back seasons where we let loose Hayward and then Hyde? I think it was. Dude, that hurts me. I do wish that guy could have been a Packers whole career. That would have been real nice. But what a great career. So hats off to Micah Hyde. And yeah, just want to get your thoughts. All right, thanks, bud.
Hyde was a good player. He got a lot better when he left. I didn't want to get rid of Hyde. I was upset because I felt like they always underutilized Micah Hyde. That guy was just a solid player, and he was kind of like a rotation. Like, they just didn't want to put him out there. It's very weird, and then they ended up moving on from him. But he did get better when he left. So it was good for him. It was also sort of I think a lot of us looked at how good he was in Buffalo and was like, that's what we had, and we gave it up. It's like, no, it's not what we had. He was good. He wasn't that good. Maybe he would have been. I don't know. Probably not. But no, he was a great football player. Definitely wish we would have hung on to him, but we didn't. I don't really understand why they just didn't really like him. I don't know if it was our defensive coordinator, Capers, that didn't like him. I don't know if it was our GM, Ted Thompson, that didn't like him. It was very weird. Maybe it was Mike McCarthy that didn't like him. I have no idea what the problem was with him, but he just didn't ever really get the respect that I felt like all of us wanted to give him. We all really liked the guy. But yeah, I don't know. It was very weird. As far as the corners, I think there could possibly be something there. I don't know his actual value. I can't imagine it's Jaire's, I can't imagine it's much. But like you said, all we're trying to do is take a little bit off. And I agree with you. They wouldn't give up a first this year. I think if they did, it would be something like a second this year, a first next year kind of a thing. Maybe, they could do like a second and Jaire, because they don't have a good cornerback situation at all. It's pretty rough. They've got Nate Hobbs, who is a 5th-round pick out of Illinois, played a little more than half a year. I don't know if he had injury issues or what the problem was, but he's sort of a safety/slot guy, not a super great football player. Jacorian Bennett, who is a second-year 4th-round pick. He took a big jump from a 42 grade to a 58 grade. Really not very good. He played about a half a year as well. Again, I don't know if it's injuries or what. They have Darnay Holmes, who is another 4th-round pick. He was with the Giants for 4 years, then went to Las Vegas. He's just bad. Jack Jones, another 4th-round pick. He was good in New England, and then he went to Las Vegas, and he was bad. They got Q Blue Kelly, who is a 2023 5th-round pick. He was actually spent a little time with Green Bay. He was with Seattle, Green Bay, and Washington in 2023. And Las Vegas in 2024, he's awful. He played one game and was terrible. They don't have a single good corner on the team is the point. They've also got Decamarion Richardson, who was actually the lowest graded corner on the team, 45 grade, 42 coverage grade. He also played, 3/4 of a season. So I don't know if they just did a ton of rotation, tons of injuries. I don't know what the problem was, but they don't have a single good corner. So I think there's a chance that they'd be willing to reduce the price a little bit for a guy like Jaire, potentially. And again, let me just reiterate for the 10,000th time, because I can just anticipate sort of you idiots talking about it like it was actually going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I do not think Max Crosby is going to leave. I don't think he's going to come to Green Bay, but it is a possibility, and I want to talk about it. I know there was even something recently that came out, and everyone's like, see, it's not going to happen. It's like, well, it was never probably going to happen, but I still, just because he made some stupid comment about, like, I want to be a Raider or something. It's like, it doesn't change anything. Of course he's going to say that. But until everything's done, you never know, because things will happen, and all of a sudden talks go south, or all of a sudden there's a contract on the table. Things can happen pretty rapidly. But yeah, they need corner help pretty desperately. They do. So they also need edge help if they get rid of Max Crosby, which is kind of the problem. But whatever. I guess they at least got Tyree Wilson. That's something to work with.
Hi Ryan, it's Randy in Minnesota.
Hey,
I just heard the new Colt song. Oh my God, that's great. You did a great job with that. Cockcrew. Maybe I better learn how to say it first. But it brings me to another point. Last time I was in Lambeau, I thought, God, it'd be great. There'd be some way for those of us who aren't Packernet After Dark, if we could have something to identify each other. It'd be kind of cool to be walking through Lambeau and see something that would say, oh, you listen to Ryan, you're in Packernet also. That might be something, some kind of a design patch or something you could.
I was just thinking that we need some kind of like a cult symbol. You know what I mean? It's got to have some ties to Packers or whatever, very loosely. Could be kind of like a deformed G, but it's some kind of a cult symbol. I don't know how you could work maybe an S in there, maybe I don't know, but some kind of a Chicago symbol.
Or something that people could see and you could tell right away. I don't know who you are, but I know you're on Packernet After Dark.
Yep.
Let's go get a beer and talk.
Yep.
That would be awesome. Anyway, that's all I've got. Just an idea out there. I would really like to sit down and talk to some of these other guys and ladies. They have great comment, and that's all I got. So go Pack, go. Bye.
We'll call it the Chicago Crew. You know what I mean? Like crew. It's the Chicago Crew. I don't know, dude. Just leave me alone. But I think that'd be pretty cool. We've been talking about that forever. Like for the NFL draft to have some kind of an identifying thing, we should probably make sure there's at least something, whether it's like specifically just a Packernet After Dark, could be, T-shirt, headband, something to that effect, a hat. Could also go the Shikrakru route, though. You know, you could do both or either, just as a way to identify like it's one of the crew. You know, I think that's a good idea, and we should probably get on that as soon as possible, so people have an opportunity to order their thing, so that when they go to the draft, everybody's kind of identifiable. Be kind of cool. I'd like to hear back from that too, as far as like I went to the draft and I met up with some Packernet people, some people from the Shikra crew. It's stupid, but it's got to be a thing. I think it just has to be a thing at this point.
Hey, Mac Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
What's up?
I wanted to call in and give you my take regarding Max Crosby.
Sure.
Just listening to your latest podcast, you had mentioned that supposedly there was some kind of comment made that, you know, if he could go back to Detroit, that's who he would go to if LA didn't, or Las Vegas didn't exist. Max Crosby did play his college football, I think, at Central Michigan.
Yes.
So I think maybe, you know, he grew up in Michigan. I didn't do the homework to see what his bio had to say, but if that's the case, it might be a really hard sell to convince that guy to come to the Packers. He might even do a hometown deal to sign with Detroit, because I think he would probably like to play for a guy like Campbell. So I don't know. It kind of concerns me a little bit. And then when it comes to Khalil Mack, dude, I would really love to see Green Bay go after him hard. But if he thinks that Chicago has the defense that's going to start rising up, and he has an opportunity to take them back to what they were when he played for them, we may lose out on him too. He may go back to Chicago. So that's like double jeopardy. So if those two guys are not available, who else out there is a possibility that Green Bay could go get? Because I honestly, as much as if they were able to get the best defensive end in the draft, it's still a crapshoot whether he's going to be good or not. But getting a free agent that's proven seems to me like the better bet. And right now, like I had called in before talking about urgency, I feel like they need some sure things right now. And signing a cornerback like Reed from the Jets, who did play pretty good this last season, seems like, what I would want them to do, and signing a defensive end that's proven. Still draft somebody, but they need to go out and get some guys that are proven. I'm just not feeling this draft right now. It's just it's iffy.
Yeah, draft is definitely always iffy. You never really know what you're going to get. I mean, obviously, there are never guarantees even in free agency, but I get what you mean in terms of guys that are proven. Certainly a higher likelihood if you go get a guy that's been a good football player. I tell you what, tomorrow we'll kind of go through some of that stuff. The plan will be, we'll see about time if we have time to do the trade up, trade down thing as well. But we'll focus more on free agency, who is currently not under contract. Obviously, a lot of these guys, especially some of the top guys, will end up getting signed. So, there's kind of a question of, are they likely to be re-signed or not? But then there's also another pile of people who are currently under contract, like Max Crosby, that could potentially be traded. So we'll see if we can try to scare up a couple names. It's going to be difficult. It's very rare to find somebody that is the caliber that you're talking about that's going to even be available, whether that be through free agency, which is very unlikely, or even a trade. And then if they do become available, you're in competition with at least like 20 other teams. So, but we'll go over some of that tomorrow. Max Crosby, by the way, yes, he was born in Lapeer, Michigan. He moved to Colleyville, Texas, though, and that's where he went to high school. So his adolescent through high school years, he was in Texas, and then went back to Eastern Michigan for college. So he's got some roots in both, and obviously that is probably why, as you said, if he wanted to play somewhere, it'd be Detroit. I don't know if it'd be strong enough that he would, refuse to play for the Packers or anything, or give Detroit a discount or anything like that. I think, he's playing for the Raiders. He's pretty loyal to the Raiders as well. I think, he'd be willing to stay there if they could just pay him what he's worth. If they can't, though, I think he's just going to get paid. And again, I think we have a decent chance just because of what we have here in terms of defensive staff, as well as guys like Josh Jacobs and whatnot putting in a word, and still having guys like Rich Bisaccia, I think would be huge. I think he was very respected among the Raiders players. So I wouldn't be as worried about that. I would say if he becomes available, I would put us, Detroit's up there too for sure because he's outright said it, but I would put us near the top of the list of places that he could potentially end up. But at the end of the day, it probably will just come down to the most amount of money. All right. I'm going to stop it there. We'll get to work on this Shikrakru nonsense, and I will make sure that everybody that wants it will be able to purchase some gear so that you can, if you're going to the draft or whatever, be cool to be able to have some kind of, obviously you're going to want to wear a jersey or whatever, so a t-shirt might not be the best. It'll be available, but it's probably not what everyone's looking for. But, headband, hat, some kind of a patch you can put on something. I don't freaking know. But got to make sure the crew is represented. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
The tundra cold and wide, a prophet rose, our holy guide, with thick skin might and wisdom bold. His name was carved in green and gold. Shikrakru, our guiding flame, strike down those who curse thy name. With shield of cheese and sword of light, we march as one into the fight. Hail Shikrakru, lest the Packers smite the foes. Shield us from the ref's dark blows, to victory, to Lambeau's throne. In days of old the storm did rage, our foes did mock our team encaged. But Shikrakru with righteous hand did break the line, reclaim the land. Praise thee, the sacred force, who guards the north with steadfast course. Through icy wind and bitter cold, his will is done, his fate foretold. Hail Shikrakru, lest the Packers smite the foes. Shield us from the ref's dark blows, to victory, to Lambeau's throne. Ain't they fool, hear the word of Shikrakru. Thou shalt never forsake the pack, nor doubt the chosen signal caller. For in his name we conquer all, and shouldst thou ever waver, beg forgiveness in the frozen wilds. Hail Shikrakru, stand as one, defend the land. Vikings fall and bear shall weep, his glory forever